हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। जय राधा माधवा जय कुंज बिहारी, जय राधा माधवा जय कुंज बिहारी। जय राधा माधवा जय कुंज बिहारी। श्री राधा माधव जी की, श्री कृष्ण बलराम की, श्री श्याम सुंदर ललिता विशाखा जी की, श्री गौर नित्याई जी की, शिला प्रभुपाद की, शिला गुरुदेव की, नित्याई गौर प्रेमानंदे। हरे कृष्णा प्रभु जी माता जी। वेलकम टू ऑल ऑफ यू इन टुडे's session of Srimad Bhagavad Gita as it is, and Krishna willing we will discuss today from 14th chapter verse number 2. We heard day before yesterday on 14th chapter verse number 1. Today we will take 14th chapter verse number 2. Srimad Bhagavad Gita is the Vani spoken by Lord Himself. There is no difference between His Vani and He Himself. So when we see the Bhagavad Gita, we should see as if we are seeing Krishna directly. That should be our mood. Om Ajnantimirandhasya Jnananjana Salakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namah। श्री चैतन्य मनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वं रूप कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरुन् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगण रघुनाथान्वितं। हे कृष्णा करुणा सिंधो दीनबंधो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कांत श्रीराधा कांत नमोस्तुते। तप्त कांचन गौरांगी श्रीराधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्यैव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्णा चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंदा। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। हरे कृष्णा। इदं ज्ञानम upāśritya मम आगतः sādharmyam आगतः sarge अपि न अपि upajāyante pralaye न vyathanti च idam jñānam upāśritya मम sādharmyam āgatāḥ sarge अपि nopajāyante pralaye न vyathanti च idam jñānam upāśritya मम sādharmyam āgatāḥ sarge अपि nopajāyante pralaye न vyathanti च idam jñānam upāśritya मम sādharmyam āgatāḥ sarge अपि nopajāyante pralaye न vyathanti च। Please repeat. idam jñānam upāśritya mam sādharmyam āgatāḥ ye api nopajāyante pralaye न vyathanti ca idam jñānam upāśritya sādharmyam āgatāḥ sarge अपि nopajāyante pralaye न vyathanti ca। Matajis. idam jñānam upāśritya mam sādharmyam āgatāḥ sarge अपि nopajāyante pralaye न vyathanti ca। Hare Krishna. Word to word meaning, translation and purport divine by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki idam, this, jñānam, knowledge, upāśritya, taking shelter of, mam, my, sādharmyam, same nature, āgatāḥ, having attained, sarge api, even in the creation, na, never, upajāyante, are born, pralaye, in the annihilation, na, nor, vyathanti, are disturbed, cha, also. By becoming fixed in this knowledge, one can attain to the transcendental nature like mine, moon. Thus established, one is not born at the time of creation or disturbed at the time of dissolution. Please repeat. By becoming fixed in this knowledge, one can attain to the transcendental nature like my own. Thus, established, one is not born at the time of creation or disturbed at the time of dissolution. Please hear the transcendental purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. Purport: after acquiring the perfect transcendental knowledge, one acquires qualitative equality with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, becoming free from the repetition of birth and death. One does not, however, lose his identity as an individual soul. It is understood from the Vedic literature that liberated souls who have reached the transcendental planets of the spiritual sky always look to the lotus feet of Supreme Lord, being engaged in His transcendental loving service. So, even after liberation, the devotees do not lose their individual identities. Generally, in the material world, whatever knowledge we get is contaminated by three modes of material nature. Knowledge which is not contaminated by the three modes of nature is called transcendental knowledge. As soon as one is situated in that transcendental knowledge, he is on the same platform as the Supreme Person. Those who have no knowledge of his spiritual sky hold that after being freed from the material activities of the material form, this spiritual identity becomes formless, without any variegatedness. However, just as there is material variegatedness in this world, in the spiritual world, there is also variegatedness. There is those who in the ignorance of this think that spiritual existence is opposed to the material variety. But actually, in the spiritual sky, one attains a spiritual form. There are spiritual activities, and the spiritual situation is called devotional life. That atmosphere is said to be uncontaminated, and there is one is equal in equality with the Supreme Lord. To obtain such knowledge, one must develop all the spiritual qualities. One who thus develops the spiritual qualities is not affected either by the creation or by the destruction of this material. Srila Prabhupada ki Hare Krishna. So, this chapter is titled as the three modes of material nature. Krishna spoke in the previous chapter, which we heard, about the nature, the enjoyer, and the consciousness. Till now, Arjuna has been given complete knowledge in the form of 6 chapters in the middle. That means 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. The culmination of this 6th chapter is in the form of chapter 12, which is devotional service, bhakti. So what is the need for Krishna again repeating these things? In the previous verse, if you see the first verse, what is given there? Param bhuya pravakshyami jñānam jñānam uttamam. Param bhuya pravakshyami. Bhuya, again, I am going to tell you. What I am going to tell you? Jñānam jñānam uttamam. The best, whatever is the best, that I am going to tell you. The supreme wisdom, not only best, he is telling, I am going to give you supreme wisdom. So he is preparing introduction for any book, any knowledge we have introduction. So he is preparing that introduction. So first verse he said, what I am going to give you, I shall declare to you this supreme wisdom, the best of all knowledge. And we see chapter 9 of Bhagavad Gita, what is given to Krishna, to Arjuna by Krishna, most confidential knowledge. So this knowledge which he is going to give about the three modes of material nature, even is, Krishna is telling, is best of all the knowledge, even better than that. Can we digest this, Prabhuji Mataji? Krishna is telling has to be truth, right? Why? There is a practicality in this. In 9.1 of Bhagavad Gita, when Krishna declares to Arjuna He says, idam tute guhyatamam pravakshami anasuyave. Jnānam vijnānam sahitam yad gyatva mokchase asubhat. Asubhat. Whatever abhadras you have, whatever inauspicious you have, that will be completely eradicated. When? Why it will be eradicated? Idam tute guhyatamam. Guhyatam, most confidential knowledge I am going to give you. And that will be not only the knowledge, but will be the science. Jnānam vijnānam sahitam. Once you know that knowledge, the most confident knowledge, with practical and the theory both. Jnān is theory and vijnān is practical. And Krishna gives so many examples later on that chapter. What is the practical example? What is the science? Yad gyatva, by knowing that, your all inauspicious will go away. And what is the worst inauspiciousness for us? What is the worst abhadra for us? The cycle of repeated birth and death. We continue to for that. You will get eradicated from that. So Prabhuji Mataji, Krishna, when he is telling over here that by becoming fixed in this knowledge, so which knowledge we are talking about? The statement by Krishna is, by becoming fixed in this knowledge, one can attain to the transcendental nature like my own. So we are going to discuss the transcendental nature of Krishna's own nature, how he is comparing, and what is this knowledge. And Prabhupada writes in the purport, variegatedness. So we'll discuss the three main points from this verse. But before discussing this, let us see the little bit on the background, what is happening. In the 13th chapter, which is nature, enjoyer and the consciousness, Arjuna asked a question to Krishna, and then Krishna answered all the chapter in 3 verses, which is 24th, 35th and 19. In 3 verses, Krishna summarizes the whole chapter. So in 19th chapter, verse he says, iti chetram tatha jnānam geya choktam samasataha mad bhakta etad vigyaya mad bhavayo paddate. He is telling what is the field, kshetra, and what is the knowledge, and geyam, the knowable. So thus the field of activities, knowledge, the knowable have been summarily described by me. Only my devotees can understand this thoroughly and thus attain my nature. So our verse today also is saying you attain my nature. So there also declared you attain my nature by knowing these 3 things. And is very clearly telling only my devotees can understand this, nobody else. If non-devotee wants to understand, first he has to become a devotee, then only he can understand. Srila Prabhupada writes in the purport very nicely and summarize also. The Lord has described in summary the body. Body is the field, kshetra, the knowledge and the knowable. This knowledge is in 3 things. One is knower, the knowable and the process of knowing. Combined, these are called vijnān. So if we say knowledge, the knowable and the process, these 3 things when combined, that we call vijnān, or the science of knowledge. Perfect knowledge can be understood by unalloyed devotees of the Lord directly. So that means devotee has to be unalloyed and he can directly understand that knowledge. Vidur Maharaj went to Uddhava and he asked to impart the knowledge which Krishna has given to him. But Uddhava, to avoid the vyatikrama, he said, no, please go to the Maitreya. And he goes to Maitreya Muni. So Krishna directly gave the knowledge to Uddhava and Maitreya, and from Maitreya it is gone to Vidur Maharaj. So that is the evam para praptam evam rajarsayo vidu 4.2 of Bhagavad Gita, that by disciple succession you get this knowledge. Same thing Prabhupada is saying here. To summarize, one may understand that verse 6 and 7, beginning from Mahabhutani Ahankaro, from 6-7 the complete thing is given, and continuing through the Chetana Dhati, analyze the material elements and certain manifestation of symptom of life. So from 6 to this verse 6 and 7, this complete even. And then verse 8 through 12, from amanitvam adambitvam tattva jnanartham darsanam, describe the process of knowledge. So 8 to 12 is the process of knowledge, and 6 and 7 is the knowledge basically. For understanding both types of knower and the field of activities, namely the soul and the super soul. The soul is not the field. Who is the field? The body is the field. The knower is the soul and the super soul. They are the knower. The verse 13 through 18, beginning from the anadi matparam and continuing through Hirdi Sarvasya Vidhishtitam, describe the soul and the Supreme Lord or the super soul. So these things, Kshetra, Jnānam and Gayam, this is described by Krishna from verse number 6 to 18. And 19 is this verse, he is summarizing that. In verse number 24, he says, Ya evam veti purusa, purusam prakrti cha gunai saha, sarvatha vartmanopi nasa bhuyo vijayate. Means, one who understands the philosophy concerning the material nature, the living being, living entity, and the interaction of the modes of nature is sure to attain liberation. So again, he is talking about liberation. If you want liberation, what you have to know? You have to understand the philosophy, which philosophy concerning the material nature. Why it is so important, Prabhuji Mataji? Day in, day out, what are we dealing with? Material nature and three modes. And that's why Krishna is saying in this verse that this knowledge is so important. If you know this knowledge, then definitely you will attain my own nature. My nature like me, my own nature you will attain. And you will get liberation. He says further, he will not take birth again here, regardless of his present position. See, Krishna is so merciful that he is very clearly, very boldly underlining these points, that whatever be your position, whatever be your asrama, whatever is your varna, doesn't matter. But if you attain this knowledge, knowledge of what? Nature, enjoyer and consciousness, then you will definitely attain my own nature and the liberation. In verse number 35th, the last verse before this chapter, he says, Kshetra chetagya evayo antaram jnana chakshusa bhuta prakriti moksham cha ye viduryanti te param. That those who see with the eyes of knowledge, we don't have to see with the eye, our own this charma chakshu. We have to see the eye of knowledge. The difference between the body and the knower of the body. It's very important. He's saying Kshetra and Kshetragya. So, knower of the body and the difference you have to understand very clearly. And can also understand the process of liberation from the bondage in the material nature, attain the supreme goal. And what is our supreme goal? Back to Godhead. Goloka Vrindavan. That is our supreme goal. And what we do there? We just simply get liberated and we go to Goloka Vrindavan. What we do there, Prabhuji Mataji? We do the continue serving the Lord over there. We'll discuss further in this one. So, how do we get this knowledge? We are talking about knowledge. How do we get this knowledge? What is the best way to understand this knowledge? By hearing. By hearing. And that's what he said in the 13th chapter, 26th verse. He says, Anne tumajanantaha suttanebhya upāsate te pichatin teva mrityu suti parayanaha. Again, there are those who, although not conversant in the spiritual knowledge, you may not be knowing slokas, you may not be shastras, you may not be knowing so many things, Vedas, Puranas, you may not be knowing all those things. But, he says, not conversant in the spiritual knowledge, begin to worship. He simply begins to worship directly. The Supreme Person, how do you begin the worship Supreme Person without having this knowledge? Krishna is so clear. He says, upon hearing about him from others. That's what we are doing. Srila Prabhupada gave this nice program We have Mangala Arati, we have Srimad Bhagavatam, Srimad Bhagavad Gita, so many classes are going on. Valmiki Ramayana, Bhagavad, Brahmata, so many things are going on. We keep hearing. So by hearing this, from others, because of their tendency to hear from authorities. But how do we hear? We have to hear from authorities. They also transcend the path of birth and death. See, each and every place which we are discussing now, Krishna again and telling, you transcend the path of birth and death, you get liberation from the cycle of repeated birth and death, you attain my own nature. Everywhere getting this, Prabhuji Mataji. So, in the purport of this verse of 1326, Prabhupada writes so wonderfully. He says, as for the common man, let us talk about the common man. If he is a good soul, so that means Prabhupada is saying there is good soul and the bad soul. But soul is neither good or bad. But in what sense Prabhupada is saying? Good soul is who is in the association of devotees. When soul is associated with non-devotees, you can say bad soul. If it is a good soul, then there is a chance for advancement by hearing. So hearing gives you advancement. This hearing process is very important. In this verse particularly, the process of hearing is strongly recommended. And this is very appropriate. Not only recommended, this process is so appropriate, although the common man is often not as capable as so-called philosophers, faithful hearing. The hearing has to be faithful. It's not like that you just come here, sit for some time and then go away. That's not the hearing. You have to hear with full faith. Faith in Lord and His Shastras, Guru, Sadhu and Shastra. You have to have full faith in that. Faithful hearing from an authoritative person. So you have to hear from authority. And what is the meaning of that? There is an example, for example, we have a milk, right? What is the quality of milk? When you drink the milk, it nourishes the body. It gives us so much strength. The milk is the same. But if milk is touched by the serpent and you drink that milk, what will happen? That means milk is contaminated. Something has been added to the milk. Milk is pure, but something has been added, which is not good. So that's why Prabhupada is saying you have to hear from the right sources. The person will help, authority person will help one understand this material existence and go back to Godhead, back to home. So by this process, again you go back to Godhead, back to home. Prabhuji Mataji, if we see this hearing process, but how should we hear? How should we hear this process? Narad Muni tells us very clearly in this. In the Sud Goswami tells us how should we hear. He says we should hear with rapt attention. What is telling? O learned Brahmanas, Sud Goswami addressing this, Honak, Rishi, etc., 88,000 sages are there. O learned Brahmanas, when Sukdev Goswami recited the Srimad Bhagavatam, there in the presence of Emperor Parikshit, I heard with rapt attention. This is the formula. You go here casually, the result will be also casual. When you go and hear with rapt attention, naturally things will go from here, go here, you Sravan, Supatan, Vicharaparo. In 12th canto Srimad Bhagavatam, it is given, Sravan, Supatan, Vicharaparo. You hear, Supatan, then you read again, and then you meditate on that. Once you do these three things, that will be 100% always for you. For anything you study, Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita, whatever you study, if you follow this formula, Sravan, Supatan vicharparo. Then this will be always with you in your throat. And Krishna is telling here, what is telling? That you attain my nature. Again and again he is telling you get free from the repeated birth and death. In 2.27 Bhagavad Gita, Krishna told, Jatasya dhruva martur, dhruvam jan mritasya cha, tasmadi pare arte, natvam sochitum arhasi. Jatasya dhruva martur. Arjun, who has taken birth, death is certain. And who has left the body, for him, birth is certain. So how do we get free from the repeated birth and death cycle? Krishna is telling, it's like a puzzle, right? That whosoever has taken birth, he has to die. And who has died, he has to again take the birth. So how do we get free from this? See, even those people, those great souls who associate with devotees and get the chance the last time leaving the body, antakale chemo ismukta kalerum ya prayati samadbham natiyatra sansaya, they attain Krishna, they go to Golok Dham, but there also they get a body, but that body is not like our body, so there is a birth again. So after leaving the body, there is a birth again in Golok also, but that body is always Golok Vaikuntha Dham, spiritual body. With this spiritual body, you keep on serving the Lord eternally. Until unless Lord wants to come, appear in this, any of the Brahman, he wants to take his own associates, you come with him, take birth again. So this is very true, Prabhuji Mataji. Now we are talking same nature, that you attain my nature. How do we understand that nature, Prabhuji Mataji? In 8th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is telling to Arjuna, Kavim Puranam Anusasitaram Anoraniyan Samanusmaredhya Sarva Sadhataram Achinta Rupam Aditya Varnam Tamsa Parastat. So who is Krishna? Kavim Puranam is telling, one should meditate on whom? Kavim Puranam. That means Supreme Person as the one who knows everything. He who is the oldest, Puranam. Who is the controller? Who is the smaller than the smallest? Who is the maintainer of everything? Who is beyond all material conception? Who is inconceivable? Who is always a person? He is luminous like a sun, and he is transcendental beyond this material nature. These are the qualities of Supreme Personality of Godhead described in 8.9 of Srimad Bhagavad Gita. In 15th chapter, Krishna told us, Mamevanso jivaloke jivbhut sanatana. Each and every living entity, whatever body you have, you are basically part and parcel of Krishna, part of Krishna. So whatever qualities he has, attaining his nature means whatever qualities he has, the living entity also has the same qualities. There is no difference. What is the difference, Prabhuji Mataji? Difference is in the quantity. The qualities are same, but quantity is the difference. How come? Srila Prabhupada gave the example of like an ocean. Right? In ocean, there is a water, huge amount of water, and water is so powerful that it can topple big ships. It can damage anything. The waves can swallow anything. But if you take the same water in a bucket, in a pot, in a glass or whatever, take it out, analyze both the waters of the sea and this water, the qualities will be the same. But the effect is not the same. The force or the power which the water with the ocean, within the ocean has, the separated water doesn't have that power at all. Does it have? It doesn't have. So being same in quality, But if you are separated out, you lose all your power. That's why Shastra says you should always connected to the Supreme Lord. You should not be disconnected from Him. For like we have this, power is there, right? If you switch off, there is no power. So connection has to be there, Prabhuji Mataji. Another nature of Krishna is, in 9.29 Krishna says, Samoham sarvabhutesu name dosti priyaha ye bhajantu tumam bhaktya maitetesu chapiham. Samoham sarvabhutesu. What is saying Krishna? He is telling that I envy no one, nor I am partial to anyone. That means, like he said, idam dute guhyavtam pravakshami anasuyave. Arjun, I am going to give you this knowledge because you are not envious. You are non-envious. Same Krishna is telling, I envy no one. So envy should be out of our syllabus. We should never be envious of any situation. And I am equal to all. Samoham sarvabhutesu. I am equal to all. But whoever renders service unto me, in devotion is a friend in me, and I am also friend to him. So basically two things Krishna is telling. No envy, and then we have to look everybody the same way. Vidyavane sampanni brahmane gavi hastani sunicha sipakaja panditaha samdarsina. Who is a pandit? Who doesn't differentiate between the Vidya Vinay Sampanne, Brahman, cow, and Sunichev, even the dog eater. The Paramhans, they don't make any difference in that. They see everybody at equal level. And day in, day out, we are doing many activities, Prabhuji Mataji. Each and every moment. Krishna says 3.5, what he says? Nahi kaschin chadapi jatu tishtratim karak. That not for a moment you can be without doing an activity. Does Krishna do any activity? He is doing any activity or not, Prabhuji Mataji? He is doing. In how is he doing the activity? See, in 3.19, Bhagavad Gita says, Tasma sakta sattam karyam karma samachara asakto hi acharan karma parmapnoti purusaha. He says, therefore, without being attached to fruits of the activities, one should act as a matter of duty. By working without attachment, one attains the Supreme. So again, formula is coming to attain the Supreme. You want to attain the Supreme? You do all your activity without any attachment to the results of the activity. Right? And he says, Name partasi kartavyam trishu lokesu kinchana namnavaptavyam varta evacha karmani. Ki O son of Pratha, there is no work prescribed for me. Krishna doesn't need to do any work, Prabhuji Mataji. He is simply busy in Golok Vrindavan. Venu kudantam arvindalayataaksham. Venu kudantam arvindalayataaksham. He is simply blowing his flute, playing his flute, and tending the cows. That is the only thing. Otherwise, he is not supposed to do any activity. But here he says, what he says? In three planetary system, there is no activity prescribed by for me. Nor I want anything. Why do we work? You go to office to get some salary. You work at home. You work in the temple to please the Lord. Some motive is there always, right? But Krishna says, I am not want of anything. I don't want anything. Nor I am need of to obtain anything. He doesn't need to obtain anything. Still he says, I am engaged in the prescribed duties. How is he engaged in the prescribed duties, Prabhuji Mataji? In Dwarka, 16,108 palaces. Krishna is physically present in each and every palace. Narad Muni goes to see the family life of Krishna. What is he doing? Some place he is playing with the kids, some place he is doing yagya, some place he is decorating himself, some place playing with his wife. Each and every place is doing different activities. But how is he doing these activities? attached, without any motive. There is a very nice pastime from the Shastras. Once Krishna, after 2 prahara, almost in the middle of the night, he came to the gopis. Okay? And I think they are the Golokvasini gopis, there are different category gopis. He came to the gopis. And they were surprised to see Krishna. They said, why you are coming so late? Middle of the night, after 2 prayer. Why are you coming so late? Krishna told, oh my dear gopis, what should I tell you? I had to go and see Durvasa Muni. Oh, Durvasa Muni has come. Yes, he has come. He is staying on the other side of the Yamuna, other side of the bank. And I went to see him, worship him, and I came, that's why I became late. And these gopis already have heard the boon given by Durvasa Muni to Radharani in the Varsbhanu's palace. So they remembered that boon. They thought, let us also get the boon, mercy of the Durvasa Muni. They told Krishna, Krishna, we want to go and see Durvasa Muni and worship him also. Now you want to go? Yes, we want to go right away. We don't want to lose any moment. Means what? When you want to serve someone, don't look at the time. At that time, when the desire comes, immediately serve. Don't wait. But they told Krishna, how will go? It's rainy season, Yamuna is full. We cannot swim. No, there is no boat to go at this time. Krishna told, okay, you get ready. So gopis collected all the eatable items, tons of tons they collected. And they put all these 56 type of bhogas. And they took on their heads. And Krishna told them, you go to Yamuna Maiya and tell Yamuna Maiya that if Krishna is a Naistaki Bal Brahmachari, Akhand Brahmachari, give us the way. Gopi started thinking, Krishna is doing always rasa with us. He is always with us, having our association. And he is telling he is a Akhand Brahmachari. But see the quality of the devotees. Devotees never doubt. They simply accepted the word of Krishna. They went to the river. And after going to the river, they simply repeated the words, oh my dear Yamuna, mother, please give us the way. We want to go to Durvasa Muni. In this, if you give us the way, if Krishna is the Akhand Brahmachari. And immediately, Yamuna Maiya gave them the way. They went to Durvasa Muni. After going to Durvasa Muni, they put everything there, prayed to him, and he want to serve you. Okay, you serve me. Then there was a competition in the gopis. Some gopis said, no, eat this first. No, eat this first. Eat this first. There was a big fight. Competition. So Durvasa Muni, don't be so enthusiastic. I will make one arrangement. I will open my mouth. I will not touch anything whatever you brought. I will open my mouth. You keep on pouring in my mouth. So no hassle. And then he opened mouth. Gopis poured everything into his mouth. And then he ate everything. It was huge amount of offering. Then Gopi was so much surprised that this Durvasa Muni ate so much. There is nothing left. Then they thought of going back. And how to go back? Again same situation. They are Durvasa Muni. That please tell us the way how we go back. We have to go back to our home. This middle of the night. Durvasa Muni said, tell Yamuna Maiya, Durvasa is fasting. Durvasa is fasting. Durvasa never eats anything. Durvasa has never eaten any grain or water in his lifetime. Tell Yamuna Maiya and then you can go. Gopi again accepted this as it is. Went to Yamuna Maiya, told the same thing, and then Yamuna Maiya gave the way and they crossed. They came home. But before going home, they caught Krishna and asked Krishna, Krishna, tell us what is the secret? For us, neither you are brahmachari or nor Durvasa Muni 8 tons of offering we took. Then Krishna explained. He tells in 5.10 of Bhagavad Gita, Brahmani ādhāya karmāni samyak taktarakotiya lippate sanepātena padranpotram vambasa. Brahmani ādhāya karmāni. Whatever activities you are doing, the results of that simply offer to Brahman, Krishna. Sangam tyaktva karotiya. You do activities without any attachment. And then Example he gives, like a science, he says, Lippete sene papena padam patram imambhasa, like a lotus flower is unattached to the any water. You put any amount of water on the lotus flower, it will just flow away. There is no water will be retained by the lotus flower. Then Krishna tells in detail, he says, look, whatever Durvasa has eaten is just the activity. There is no motive for him to eat anything. He simply accepted. In reality, Durvasa never eats anything. He simply lives on what? The juice of Durva grass. That is his food. He has never, but whatever you have offered, he is simply taken as a duty because it is offered to me as he is honoring the prasad. Same way for Krishna also, that you come to me, I am simply giving you pleasure. I am not attached to anything. If you do activities unattached way, then there is no result for us. And that's once we don't have any result, Krishna tells in 2.39 of Bhagavad Gita, Esa vita sanke buddhi yoge tumam chunu buddho yaktaya partha karam bandhan prahasasi. How are we in this material world? Because of karam bandhan. Karam bandhan gives us good result or bad result. Either we are enjoying or suffering. Enjoyment is also a foundation, Prabhuji Mataji, and suffering is also a foundation. Don't think if we are so much happy life that we become free. No, that is also a foundation. That is a statement of Shastras. Even Satoguna binds us. In 14th chapter it will come. Satoguna binds us by happiness. Demigods are in Satoguna. They are always happy. That is binding demigods. So, he is telling very clearly that if you do this, then there is no result for you. Once we don't have any result, karam bandhan prasasi, then all your kambandhan will be cut. The moment that is cut, you have this zero, then you go back to Godhead. That's what the statement here. Then he says, he gives the example. He has to do the duty. Yadi ham na varteyam jatu karmani kartat mam vartmanu varnante manushya parth sarvasaha. If I ever failed to engage in carefully performing prescribed duties, O Partha, certainly all men would follow me, because the people follow the path shown by the leaders. Right? So that is why it is very clearly given here that we have to do our perform duties, and by doing these duties, what would happen? Definitely we perform the duty without engaging in the results of the work. We completely denounce the results, then we will not get any result. And how Krishna proves this? In 9th chapter, verse number 27-28, he says, Yat karosi, yat asnasi, yat jahosi dadasi yat, yat tapasyasi konte tatukrusa madarpanam, sub asub phale reva mokshe kambandhani sanyas mukta vimukto maam upasyasi. Maam upasyasi, you attain me. When you attain me, yat karosi, whatever you do, yat asnasi, whatever you eat, whatever you give charity, whatever you do tapa, whatever you do madarpanam, do that as a offering to me. Then sub asub phale revam, good or bad result, whatever is there, that will not come to you, and you will simply get freed from these reactions. He's clearly telling this, Prabhuji Matai. See, he's telling here that at the time of creation, at the time of annihilation, he will not take but the time of creation, and he will not be disturbed at the time of annihilation. Who got disturbed by the annihilation? Willingly? Bhrigu Muni. Bhrigu went to Krishna. He did so much tapas. And Krishna said, okay, what do you want? I want to see your annihilation. Pralaye. I want to see pralaye. And then he suffered like anything. Annihilation means vyathanti. That means you have to suffer. You have to get disturbed. But the devotee who understands this knowledge, he doesn't get disturbed or take birth. Why? Annihilation and the creation, both are material. Both are material. Once you attain this knowledge of nature, enjoyer, consciousness and three modes of material nature, when you understand this, then all your activities should be in accordance with that. Once we have activities in accordance with that, that means whatever we'll do, that will not be material. Because see this creation, Brahmaji created 10 type of creation. 9 main and 1 is the other one. The last one is the Manusya. And after doing all this creation, in each day of Brahma, when night arrives, everything is completely annihilated. For the same period of night time, that means what is the day of the Brahma? 1000 cycles of yugas, that is the period of Brahma's one day. Same night time. Everything gets annihilated and finished. Then again, creation, annihilation. Next morning, again Brahma's morning, creation starts. So this is called Naimittik pralaye. This is called Naimittik pralaye. There are 4 types of pralayas. And then we have the Prakritik pralaye. Prakritik pralaye is Brahma's 100 years is over. That is the Prakritik pralaye. The Nitya pralaye is like every moment, even our cells are dying and getting generated. This is the Nitya pralaye. And there is a Prakritya pralaye. Prakritya pralaye means what? It means you get absorbed into the thoughts of Krishna, you do all those, you get liberated. That is that pralaye. But out of this 4 or this 10 creation and 4 annihilation, the living entity who understands this knowledge that Krishna is confirming, he doesn't get disturbed at the time of annihilation and doesn't get born. So he gets liberated and he attains his own nature. These are so wonderfully described by Krishna. If we really understand these things, we should not have any doubt. Whatever he is saying, 100%, that means we are going to attain. So you want to attain, follow the instructions of the Krishna, and then we go back to Godhead, back home. Hare Krishna. Srimad Bhagavatam Granthāraj ki, Srila Prabhupada ki, Srila Gurudev ki, Tyai Gaur Premanande. Prabhuji, Mataji, any comments, questions, queries? Yes, Mataji, please. Yes. Very good question, Mataji. Why do we have envy, first of all? We should go to the root. When you do any analysis, we should go to the root cause. The root cause of envy is we think we lack this thing. Whatever, say we are envious of somebody's position, somebody's wealth, somebody's knowledge, whatever as far as he has, we are envious of that. That means we think we lack that. Right? We think we lack that. Shastras tells us, you be content, whatever you have got, by providence. Based on our karmas, isa vasam idav sarvam yatkim jagatyan jagat ten tan bhunjita sugatam. That whatever is due for us is already arranged by Krishna. If we do more endeavor to get it, that we have to go through this process of envy, this and that. So basic formula for that would be, we should be content. Gaudhan, Gajdhan, Bajdhan or Ratandhan Khan. See? Gaudhan, Gajdhan, Bajdhan or Ratandhan Khan. Jab aave santosh dhan, sab dhan dhuri saman. Olden days, elephants. Somebody's house, there is elephant, he is very rich. Gajdhan. Gaudhan, cows. Nand Baba has 900,000 cows. Or Ratandhan Khan, whatever wealth you have. But this is all immaterial because we always envy. Somebody has more than us, become envious. But if you are contented, then you will not be envious, Mataji. And that is the formula for that. No, Mataji, that is, you cannot be envious without desiring something. Envious means you desire something. I'll give you one example. In my last company, only the last, when I left 19, we were in Abu Dhabi. In my department, there were 130 engineers and designers. So promotion time, one of the lead engineer, got a promotion. But it was not announced, he was on leave. Other engineer, he got a very big increment. And he was so happy with that increment, he was in the department, oh, Agrawal has done this. He was praising like anything. See the difference. When the other engineers, he came back, and this person knew that he has got a promotion, then he started repeating another song. He started saying, he is the worst of the person, he didn't give me the promotion. See, this is the human nature, Mataji. So to get rid of this envy, we have to first of all have the right association and full faith, and then we should be accepting the situation, whatever we are in, whatever given to us by Krishna, we should be accepting that. But it is not easy to perform, but it is not impossible also. There are many who are simply contented. We have many examples. Our Sat Goswamis, Raghunath Das Goswami, see, his father getting 8 lakhs golden coins every year. So there is no this thing. Okay, Mataji? Yes, you have to accept. You have to accept, Mataji. Hare Krishna. Sri Bhagavad Gita Grantaraj ki, Srila Prabhupada ki, Srila Gurudev ki, Nityai Gaur Premanande. Hare Krishna, Brahma. Thank you so much.